Hello, everybody. Welcome back to your $1 billion tech startup. It is so important for you all to be exposed to what you can do in so many of these emerging technology spaces. And we're going to talk about mobile app development today. And I have Nahjee Grant here, who is a startup app developer. He wasn't a techie. He didn't get a PhD in computer science, although he is very accomplished. So I'm going to tell them a little bit about you, Nahjee, then we're going to dive right in. So Nahjee is an author. He has written some children's books, and he's a speaker, and now he's a new app developer. He has just completed his app called Let's Collab, and it is in the Apple and in the Android app store. So Nahjee, thank you so much for participating today.
As always, I appreciate you interviewing me and having me on, and I look forward to the conversation, as always.
Great, great. So, Nahjee, for people who are considering getting involved in the tech space in the form of creating mobile applications, can you tell them a little bit about your journey? Can you give them some insight into what it was like for you to go from an idea of a business, or maybe even before you had the idea, to actually getting in the app store? Can you kind of give us a synopsis of your journey?
Yeah, sure. The app Let's Collab is a school communication web and mobile app for parents and teachers to connect and communicate online and through the mobile space. And my journey came originally when I was in high school, and the lack of communication between my family and the school all throughout my high school experience. And post graduation, I said, well, what can I do to help curb this this issue? Because when I started to write children's books and going into different schools, I was realizing that a lot of families were having like similar issues that I was going through.
Sure.
So I said, well, everyone's creating apps for almost everything in our lives. So let me just do some research and look into creating an app, for this issue. And just started to get feedback from parents, started to get feedback from teachers, even to go as far as working at my local school district for a year in administration, and just getting insight on how teachers operate and administrators operate.
Okay.
And how they're communicating with families, and then we just developed the mobile app from there.
Okay, so it sounds like, and this is something that I talk about a lot when it comes to mobile application development, or even business development in general. You looked at a problem that you had, and you applied the tool of technology to solve the problem. So you were already really intimately aware of what a problem was. You knew it inside and out because you experienced the problem, which turned into a business case. And you solved that business case through coming up with this app. So once you came up with the idea to work on an app, how did you move forward? And also, had you ever started a business before? Well, you were an author.
Right. Yeah. So as far as business side, writing children's books and publishing, but within the tech space, absolutely not. I had no idea what I was getting myself into as far as moving forward with the idea. And I know we talked about it a little bit before, but like from my experience, I know there's plenty of resources online that can help. And that's just what I did, to where I was downloading mobile apps that can help with prototyping an app. And I used a couple of those for design and color schemes, and videos on YouTube. Like I was Googling, just any resource that I could possibly find to help with app development. I think that we mentioned it before, the biggest hurdle of everything was just finding the right people
Okay.
to help.
All right. So your biggest hurdle was finding the right people. Do you think that even though you had a hard time finding the right people, your process of ideation, as far as coming up with the idea based on a problem that you were aware of, and then doing research and kind of furthering your ideation through getting something like a rough draft or some specs that you could take to a developer, were those steps in order when you went to a developer? And do you think that eased the process even though you had a hard time finding the right developer?
Right. So I went through 3 developers
Mm-hmm.
until to get to the version that we have now with having it in both the app stores. And I did not have that plan in place the first 2 times.
Okay.
I had the idea, and I pretty much relied on them to help put things together when I should have had those things in place beforehand.
Okay.
Set out that learning curve. And then once I did further research, I realized that that's what I needed to do. And for the third development team, I put those things in place, and here we are now.
Okay. So, as far as your business case, do you feel that, knowing the problem from the inside out was something that helped you come up with a good business case?
Yeah, I mean, it helped knowing that I was one of those people who needed help, and then was trying to help other people who had similar issues as me. Um, it also just helped that just being a children's book author has
Mm-hmm.
a lot of benefits, not just with talking to kids, but just being in the schools,
Right.
right, and seeing the school environment and seeing their needs beyond just booking me to have a presentation for the kids, and that really helps build the business case because you get to see inadequate from inadequate funding or resources, the real needs that some of the schools need, and a lot of schools that I go into don't have books, don't have food,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're like, well, let's just see if we can connect them digitally
Mm-hmm.
together, and hopefully this app so far has been a good positive reinforcement that we can get in some of these schools and connect them via Let's Collab.
Awesome. I'm excited about it. So, just for the people who are watching, I kind of want to step back through the journey. There are so many good tidbits and so much good information that people can really learn from in this process. So, not only did you have a personal experience with the problem you were trying to solve, but you were also immersed in the environment that you were bringing the problem to. So you had an opportunity to go back and forth with your potential clients and actually see them experience these problems that could further inform how you were going to create the first version of your app. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then from there, you skipped a step in the sense of not really knowing exactly what you wanted so that you could bring the fullness of the specs, uh, like every feature and how you wanted things positioned to a developer, right?
Correct.
Okay, and so after going through 2 developers, you started to realize that you needed to have more details in place about what it is you desire the end product to be.
Correct.
Okay, and then did you come up with some way after going through the first or second developer? Did you come up with some ways to manage the developer so that you could begin to see the results in phases as opposed to waiting until the end and just finding out that this worked or this didn't work?
Yeah, I was working hand in hand pretty much every day
Mm-hmm.
with the developers with the third team.
Okay.
With the third team, pretty much every day, like I said, the first two times it was like, oh, I have an idea, and I think I think it's going to be a $1 billion idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just create it and make it happen, and then we'll market it, right? And that's not how you're supposed to do it, and obviously it didn't work out, and that's a reason why. And with the third team, from the jump with design, I was hands on.
Okay.
With the design and all throughout the development stage, even to the point where we got the email that it was approved for both for iPhone and for the Android.
Okay, can you give just to wrap up, because this is going to be a series right here, because I really want to dig into your experience and pull out all of the gems for people who, kind of maybe afraid to jump into this space, or they can't really believe that they can do it. I want them to really understand all of the things that you can share with them to advise them on this journey. But I just want to end this segment with 3 quick questions to summarize. As far as the tools you use for prototyping, I know there's so many out there, but when you went to YouTube and you did some research, what were the first, maybe 1 or 2 tools you used to help you prototype the idea?
Yeah, I mean, one that comes to mind is the app called Marvel.
Could you spell that?
Marvel.
Okay, an app called Marvel.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the comic book.
Okay. What is that, a free app?
And it is a free app.
And it allows you to prototype what it was you wanted to create.
It helped me put my ideas on paper, even though it's it's a app, right? But it helps you just get your designs, put a visual
Mm-hmm.
to ideas that you have, and it allows you to pretty much draw out on the app what you want your app to look like, and then you can create buttons. It looks like a drawing, but you
Right.
can actually create buttons on it, and it'll move and
Kind of lay out.
Right, how you want the apps and different pages to look like, and that's what I use first.
Cool. Okay, and then as far as when you started to source or seek out developers, what are some things that you would advise a person to do if they're looking for that right team? What are some ways they can kind of screen?
Yeah, great question. So again, I said research probably about 10, 15 times earlier in the interview, and I would even stress it and say it even 100 times again.
Specifically, what do you research though?
I say, the portfolio is something I didn't do with the first 2,
Mm-hmm.
and that was specifically look at what they've done and from what they've done, how can what they've done be best applied to what you want and what the functionality that you want your mobile app or web app to look like and function. Because a lot of companies can say we create websites, but that doesn't mean that they can create the one that you want.
Right. Okay.
Right. So that was the biggest thing for me, where for the first 2, they said like, oh, we create websites and we've done a couple of mobile apps, and I just went from there, and like, okay, well, get created for me. But they didn't have the expertise to do mobile app that I needed for the school community.
Okay.
And just doing further research, and then I just looked at other companies that have done extensive development with mobile apps with the features that I needed.
Okay. Right. And so as far as if you were to talk to people about maybe the top 1 or 2 or 3 ways to best manage your development team once you find them, because did you break it down into phases when you found the last people? Did you guys come up with a process ahead of time of how things were going to get approved and reviewed? Did you have to know code in order to be able to determine if the project was on track or not?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I I'm not extensive with coding. I know a little bit, but not as much as to create my own app. As far as knowing the coding language. But as far as the process is concerned, we did have milestones in place. Every time there was progress made when I was away from their office, I would get emails and phone calls pretty much every other day to make sure that we were always on the same pace with development. And again, I said I needed this third time the charm, right? So I can't go with a fourth. So I'm going to have to pretty much keep all of us together on how we want this app to look like and function and lay out once we get to the point where we can finally approve it for the iPhone and Android.
All right, well, cool. Nahjee, there's so much more to tell, but this was really informative. I know that this is going to help a lot of people, but we don't want it to be too long, so we're going to come back for another segment, and then we're going to go into a little more detail about the business side of how you developed this app and some of the results you got. So everybody just hang in there for the next segment. Thank you, Nahjee.
Thank you.